Hi guys, this is Lucky with Lucky Sevens Tarot, and this is your message of the day. If you want your relationship to last, don't get comfortable in it. Just like anything in life, if it's not growing, it's dying. So you have to constantly check in with your partner to see who they are today, how they feel today. Because who they were a year ago, 10 years ago, 2 weeks ago is gonna be different than who they are today. And you might think you know them because you know their routine. But people are always changing. That's the one thing that stays the same in life, is that everything changes. So be present in the present moment in your relationship. Relationships become stale and stagnant when the things that used to excite you become familiar. When it becomes the norm and now you've just learned to expect it, it becomes an expectation in your relationship and you don't really appreciate it the way that you did in the beginning. You are just as responsible for your relationships as your partner is. So when things become boring and it's stale, you haven't had sex in months or weeks or whatever, you are annoyed with that person, with the little things that they do all the time because you're just so used to being around them, it's time to switch up your expectations for your partner and for yourself. You have to adjust your expectations for who they actually are and not for who you believe they were, who they were a month ago, all of that. Like, you have to have a realistic expectation based on who they are and love them for who they are in that moment. People are ever changing beings. So who that person was a month ago may not be who they are today, and their beliefs may have changed. Their ideas about love, their ideas about the relationship roles may have changed. And that is something that if you want your relationship to work and be successful for a long term, you have to get comfortable with. You have to get comfortable with loving them and accepting them for who they are today and not who you want them to be or who you thought they were. And you have to get real comfortable with allowing your partner to speak their truth without you taking offense to it, without you projecting your feelings and emotions onto them or judging them for how they feel, judging them for the changes that they're going through internally. Allow them to be their most authentic self with you. Because when you don't allow a person to be themselves with you and they find themselves walking on eggshells, they find themselves trying to be what you want them to be rather than who they naturally are, the relationship has already begun to end and unravel. You have to get comfortable with allowing people to be who they are and not trying to cage them or make them who you think they should be or who you want them to be for you. That is selfish and that is not real love. And you really have to learn to embrace the differences between the two of you. You're not going to agree on everything. You are not the same person. Yes, you represent each other and you have come together as a couple, but that does not mean that you are the same. You are going to have differences of opinion all the time. And that is okay. That is what allows you to grow. That challenges you to forward thinking, to think differently, to see a different perspective. That is what you need to raise children in a balanced environment. That is what you need in order to continue to grow on a mental, spiritual, and emotional level. It is okay to be different from one another, even if you're together, and love each other in spite of that and love each other because of that. Those differences between you is that Mars type of energy that creates the passion between the two of you. You ever heard like people say that sometimes they start an argument just to make up, because that creates the passion within you. If everything constantly was great, if you agreed on everything, you would be like, oh my God, I can't even stand this person because it's so boring. It's so stale. It is okay to have differences because the differences create the passion that you need to keep your relationship alive. And guys, you really have to come together as a team and communicate with each other from a space of love, not one of frustration or anger, not living in the tension that you have with one another, not allowing it to fester, you know. And I know that that's easier said than done, because when you're in a relationship, a lot of times we get reactionary to events or situations or circumstances of our lives. But there is no I in team. And as cliche as that sounds, the team only wins when they work together. Otherwise, it becomes you versus your partner, not you and your partner versus the problem. And either you guys can attack the problem or the problem will attack your relationship. And here's a good tip for you guys. When there's tension in your relationship, change your state of being. Get out and get active with one another, not individually. Get out and go bowling, go skating, go to the gym and work out with each other. Get your blood flowing. It will literally change your state of being in your relationship in that moment. It will release a lot of the tension so that you can have a conversation with each other that doesn't necessarily result in screaming or blame or what have you. Releasing that little bit of tension may be the thing that you need with one another to actually come together and have a real life conversation that matters and that makes a difference in your relationship. Relationships fail 100% of the time because of unmet expectations that we place on our partners. When we expect them to be a certain way, to do a certain thing, to handle situations a certain way, and they fail to meet those expectations, now we're arguing, we're nagging, we're upset that they didn't meet our expectation for them that we created for them. And when we have unmet expectations from our relationships, this creates resentment within us. And when resentment lives in a relationship, it becomes a third person between the two of you. Anytime you get into an argument, that resentment shows up and it lives there. It keeps you apart. It holds you back from coming together with that person. You have to get your expectations under control. You have to release the resentments that you feel from those unmet expectations that you have. And allow your partner to just be. Allow them to be whoever they are in that moment. Because we are ever changing, that person is not going to remain the same. They're going to change. Get used to it. Get comfortable with it. You have to learn to appreciate your partner. You have to come from a space of love all the time. Not a place of me, but a place of us. When you are focused on your partner and your partner is equally focused on you, the relationship thrives. And it's not about who's not getting what. It's about how can I please you today? Making you happy makes me happy, on both accords. And there are going to be tough days when it's not like that. But you got to check in to get each other back on track so that you can appreciate one another. Showing that appreciation for one another, checking in with one another is all you need sometimes to get your relationship back to the center, back to where it's in a good place. So today I am challenging you. If you are in a relationship and you don't want it to get stale, you don't want it to get stagnant, or, maybe it has gotten stale and you're bored, you haven't had sex in a while, do something different today. I'm challenging you to do something different. Take control of your responsibility in this relationship in order to make it successful, in order to make it work, And if you've tried everything and the relationship still isn't working, then, maybe it's time to walk away. But don't walk away without making sure that you have tried everything so that you don't have any regrets when you do that. Okay? Make sure that you go out and buy them something nice. And some of you don't even have to spend money. You can get some lunch meat and make a sandwich, get a blanket and put it in the middle of the living room floor with a tea candle and have a surprise picnic for your partner. Just something for you two to have an intimate moment with each other. Maybe that leads to lovemaking. Maybe that leads to a really good conversation where you get to know each other again, where you get to laugh a little bit. Showing that small level of appreciation. where you didn't have to spend any money. Just the fact that you wanted their time, you wanted their attention, and you wanted to equally give yours can bring a relationship back together to a good place. Be conscious of what you are doing to get yourself out of stagnancy in your relationship, because it is a killer and it's a silent one. I hope you guys found this message helpful. I love you, and I hope that you're loving on yourself and loving on your partner. Peace, love, and blessings to you always.